Andrea Horwath is here. Thank you for coming in after a marathon meeting wrapped up at about 10 last night.
Yes, yeah, my pleasure, Annette.
You were saying that the start of this, it's not a panacea. It's not going to, the protocol now is not going to solve this issue, but it's a start. And we needed a start.
We absolutely needed a start. It's one tool, and I'm happy that the council made its way to approving those protocols. There's a lot of other things we need to do. I think everybody would agree on all sides of the issue. In fact, we had delegations from community members, from people with lived experience, from advocates, all saying one common theme: we need permanent housing for people. We need to build that housing. We need to make sure that we have housing with supports for people that need those supports to be successfully housed. We need more mental health services. We need more addiction supports and services to help people kick their addictions. Some of those things the city can work on, and we are. Some of those things need other orders of government for supports, but we are definitely advocating on all those fronts and doing everything we possibly can. The protocols are one tool.
Okay, so the first step is to get these 25 tiny houses or tiny shelters, the HATS program, going at first, starting on Strawn, which is between.
Well, that's what the council approved last night. That or the committee that HATS would go forward. They've got a model, as was identified in the report, that works in other communities. So let's try it here in Hamilton. It does start with the 25 units that have been approved, and then if that's successful, if we find that works for Hamilton, then there's always opportunity to expand.
Now, you talk about this being, approved by committee. It still has to go before full council. When does that happen, and do you see anything stopping the protocol from going forward?
Well, council happens on Friday. I would hope not. We did have a vigorous, lengthy discussion yesterday, and I think the vote was pretty solid. Not everybody, agreed on every part of all of the pieces of the staff reports, but ultimately the protocol passed healthily, and I think we'll be able to move forward on Friday. I certainly hope so. You can never presuppose what the council might do after a committee makes a recommendation, but we did give this a subject a lot of attention, and as you know, it was something we talked about a couple of months ago as well.
Right.
And it got kicked down the road a little bit. So I'm happy that that council or the committee decided to recommend to council that we go forward.
So for the people who are living in these encampments now, when can they actually see? When can they see the construction? And who decides who gets into one of these tiny shelters?
Well, there's a process that's going to be put in place to vet people, and that's something that the city and the HATS group will be doing collaboratively. We're hoping that the construction can begin so that we have the tiny shelters built before the snow flies. And when it comes to the encampment protocol, it has to wait for approval on Friday before we can start putting the pieces in place. But once it's approved by council, staff are going to start putting all of the pieces in place to put the protocol into effect. It won't happen overnight, but it's certainly something that we'll be rolling out as quickly as possible.
Okay, Hamilton Mayor Andrea Horwath, thanks very much for coming in.